begin just by welcoming everyone, saying good morning to those of you here in the US, good afternoon, and good evening. It's really great to see all of you from all over the world. And for those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Theo Spanos-Dunphy, and I'm President and Executive Director of Global Citizen Circle. The Circle began in Boston in 1974, almost 50 years ago, with the purpose of bringing together diverse groups of people for dialogue on critical issues, both local and global. We've always believed that enduring solutions to societal problems require a sustained commitment to dialogue, conversations, and relationships that can lead to positive change. And that's what we've committed ourselves to for nearly a half a century. We've always valued intergenerational dialogue. And as we go forward to our 50th year, we've recommitted to bringing elders together with emerging leaders for the kind of exchanges that benefit young and old alike. And today's program is no exception. As you may have seen in the invitation to this circle, we have a history of addressing critical issues and needs of young people throughout the world. In fact, today's program reminds me of a very special circle that we did in South Africa in 1998, honoring Graça Machel, the former First Lady of Mozambique and of South Africa. She had authored a report for the UN on the impact of war on children, and in it she stated, and I quote, "In a world of diversity and disparity, children are the unifying force capable of bringing people to common ethical grounds. Children's needs and aspirations cut across all ideologies and cultures. The needs of all children are the same: nutritious food, adequate health care, a decent education, shelter, and a secure, loving family. Children are both our reason to struggle to eliminate the worst aspects of warfare and our best hope for succeeding it," end quote. Graça spoke eloquently to our audience of global citizens about the need to act to ensure the well-being of children and young people, particularly those in areas of conflict. The young people you'll hear from today join us so that you can hear their stories and act by sharing what you learn from them with those all around you. Their voices are of resilience despite the challenges, but they need to know they're not alone and that we hear them. I'm going to leave more of an introduction of each of them to our circle moderator, Leon Gojani. But first, let me say that Leon himself was a child of the war in Kosovo, and through acts of kindness and mentoring relationships, has become a leader himself of emerging leaders with the nonprofit organization MCW Global. We're proud to partner with MCW Global and honored to have Leon here as our moderator. But before we turn the mic over to Leon, I just want to introduce to you Global Citizen Circle new chair, Tabby Haller-Jordan, who only recently took on this role to help us build on our 50 years of experience in a manner that will ensure another 50 years of Global Citizen Circle. So please join me in welcoming Tabby to the Circle family. I'll turn it over to you, Tabby.
So much, Theo. I think the excitement tied to this evening's program prompted me to lose my voice, so apologies for the croaking. But as Theo said, I'm absolutely delighted to extend a very warm welcome to all of you, to our longstanding GCC family, and certainly new joiners that may have joined us for the first time this evening. The last few months, frankly, have been a real inspiration in my capacity as co-chair, as I'm learning more about GCC's incredible legacy and its pending 50th anniversary. And certainly I would encourage all of you to stay posted for updates about the celebration that we planned, and as our celebratory planning efforts have just kicked off. Just by way of some very, very brief background on who I am, I have been a social justice thought leader, practitioner, and advocate for roughly 30 years at this point, which is kind of a staggering figure. I don't know what happened to about 20 of those years, but somehow it's racked up to 30. working with national governments, with for-profit, not-for-profit organizations, academia, with a very particular focus on gender justice, which is a real passion of mine. So it's for that reason that I'm particularly honored, frankly, and privileged to lend my support to GCC and its global membership, which is confirmed by this impressive list of attendees that we have. And now I'd like to just transition to this evening's program. I've been thinking a lot about how this program in particular lines up with many of GCC's strategic priorities and commitments. And one thing that I ran into today, which was a rather staggering statistic tied to just journalistic reporting, right? As we all know, journalistic reporting has just morphed into infotainment. So it's been increasingly challenging, I think, to gain access to really credible, fact-based information about conflict-ridden zones around the world. And the UN just announced this morning, and I almost fell off my chair when they said that roughly 85% of the world's population has experienced a decline in press freedom. So it essentially means that it is more and more challenging to gain access to real insights and real information. And that's why I think we're all particularly blessed vis-a-vis this evening's program, because we have an opportunity to hear firsthand deep-seated experiences, reflections, and so on from our discussion participants, and their ability to really articulate and give us some insights that truthfully, I don't think are very easy to gain access to through our normal journalistic channels. So I just wanted to upfront extend a really heartfelt thank you to all of our discussion participants this evening, because we are particularly privileged, I think, to have your firsthand experience and reflections and contributions to the program. And finally, I'll just end on a note about GCC's Circle Dialogues. What I think is so profoundly helpful about the Circle tradition is that it's all about coming up with questions that really invite a deep level of honesty, I think, and human dignity and insight to the conversation. And I don't know how many of you have had the privilege of reading a book that Krista Tippett wrote a few years ago called Becoming Wise. And I just wanted to pull out her comment because I think it's so apropos this evening's program. She stated, "There is something redemptive and life-giving about asking better questions." So with that, I'm delighted to pass the baton to Leon Gajani, who will facilitate this evening's program. And I look forward to your better questions, Leon, and hearing all the insights from our wonderful participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tabby. Thank you, Theo. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us. And thank you to everyone for the very warm welcome. So my name is Leon. I am originally from Kosovo, but I'm currently living in Portugal. I moved to Portugal because it's just more sunny and it's more warm. I serve as the Young Leaders Program Director at MCW Global. I'm very excited to be able to speak to these young leaders today and hear their stories, stories of resilience and hope. I believe in times where hope is the only thing you might have left. As Theo said, I'm also one of them. So I am one of you young leaders who grew up in a war zone and have lived his childhood in the horrors of guns and violence. And I just wanted to say that I'm here for you, and I appreciate your courage to speak to us today and to show to all of us how resilient you are and how courageous you are. So thank you for taking the time to meet with us and to share with us the story. As you've already seen on the emails that we've been following, that we've been sending you, we have a few young leaders who are joining us today from Ukraine, Afghanistan, and Syria. And I'm going to very briefly just say a few words about who these young leaders are, and then dive into the questions. So we have Sofia, Sasha, and also Taya, who are joining us from Ukraine. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. These amazing young women are very active in a theater group, which is called I'm sorry for my pronunciation. It's called the Chernivtsi Youth, which is based in the west of Ukraine, and they engage with young people between the ages of 6 to 20. And they use this opportunity so the young people in this part of Ukraine can actually use their free time to do rehearsals and to do some plays and forget a little bit about the war and the horrors that are going on. In addition, we have Ahmad, who is joining us from Syria. He's joining us from Aleppo. He's a lawyer and has worked for over 5 years in the legal field. After 5 years of actually working on the legal field, Ahmed has realized that he wants to build his career into supporting children in Syria who have been most affected by the war. So thank you for joining us, Ahmed. I'm very happy and I'm very proud of you. Ahmed is also one of the alumni of the Young Leaders Program, so I'm very excited to have him here today. And last but not least, we have Nilab, who is a youth activist who also holds a law degree from Afghanistan, from Kabul University. And since 2015, she has been volunteering with several organizations on social and educational projects, including the UN Women and other projects with the American Embassy in Afghanistan. Thank you, all of you, for joining us today, and welcome. I will try to speak as less as possible in this conversation, because I think everybody wants to hear from our young leaders and their stories. So I would like to start with Sofia and Sasha. If at all possible, if you can let us know a little bit about the difficulties and the challenges that you have been experiencing so far in the current state of your communities, and just to share a bit what has helped you to overcome those challenges and find hope for the future. Maybe we can start with Sasha.
Sure. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Yeah, so I'm Sasha, I'm 16, and I have been participating in the theater for a couple of years now. But of course, the things have changed since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion on Ukraine. Like, for instance, as our city is located in the west part of Ukraine, there have been a lot of refugees of temporarily displaced people coming here from eastern parts and southern parts of Ukraine. So we've had a lot of new people, new children in the town, and we have been kind of integrating them in the community, in the theater community. I think that Sofia and Taya might be able to tell more about this, especially Taya. But yes, it has changed the flow of our theater. And it has brought something.
There is a little bit of a delay, Sasha. Maybe you can try turning off your camera. Maybe we'll hear you better.
Yes, I think so. I might try to reconnect in a second.
It's better now, actually.
Oh, okay. Good. So, as I was saying, it is difficult for us right now, like for all the people in Ukraine. But we, and by we I mean our theater, has been trying to get through these hard times by using art too, by doing keeping doing our hobbies. And it has been bringing light into our lives, even in hard times like these.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you so much for,
Thank you.
For taking care of others in the times where you also need to be taken care of as a human being. I would like to hear from Sofia and also Taya. What has helped you guys to overcome the challenges that you're going through and to find a little bit of hope?
Thank you for the question. So hello, everyone. I'm Sofia. I'm 16 years old. And I think with all the problems, maybe helped theater, of course, and my family, friends, because they were so supportive all the time, and especially during the war. And I think physical activities like sports helped me going through all this, through all of these problems and this complicated time.
Okay, hello, my name is Taya, I'm 17, it's nice to meet you. First of all, I want to say that I needed to move on to Chernivtsi because of the start of a war. So first thing that I needed is some reasons to wake up in the morning and do something. Because it's like a start of new life in new city and I didn't have anyone here. So first of all, the theater helped me in this point because I get some new friends and it was really supportive. I could text them in every morning at night, in the morning, and they will help me and hear some things from me, listen to me. And my parents, as the best support in this life, is my parents.
Thank you, Sofia. Thank you, Taya. We'll get back to exploring a little bit more about what it's like, what is life for you right now in a bit. Just after we hear a bit from Ahmed and also Nilab on their experience on overcoming the challenges and being involved. Ahmed, I know you are having some challenges with internet. I hope you can hear us.
Yes, I can. Hello, everyone. So thank you very much, Leon. Actually, I need to turn off my camera to ensure that you are receiving my voice correctly.
We can hear you well.
Yeah, I just wanted to wave for you and say hi. Okay, so I'm Ahmad Bakdar, and as Leon introduced me, and thank you for the introduction, Leon. Actually, yes, I'm so much interested in working for and with children and youth, and I'm currently working here in Syria. So to answer the question, Leon, what helped me to overcome the challenges and reach this level of my work? Actually, I will not give the credit for one thing. Actually, it's several factors. All of them together help me overcome the challenges and let me say get on the track for for this work. So starting of all, I was born and raised and grown in a country torn apart by wars, which is so much motivation pushes me forward. You need to work not only for yourself, of course, for others. Now, at the same time, let me say myself, my life, my career, even my family, my friends, and I will break it down even smaller. Perhaps when you hear a news on the TV, sometimes this thing pushes you forward. No, you need to do more. You need to work more. So all of that together actually helped me and pushed me forward to keep pursuing my work, and I'm still on that track. Actually, it's still I don't believe I've only passed 1 or 2 steps. I still have a long way to go, and yeah, that would be it for now.
Keep up the great work, Ahmed, and yes, here and there sometimes come by and show us what you've been up to, because you're always up to doing some great things. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nilab, hi.
Hi, Leon. Thank you so much for giving me the floor. Hello, everyone. This is Nilab from Afghanistan. I'm so pleased that we all have gathered today to share our stories, to listen to each other, and stay strong. Well, I have been raised in a war-torn country. I have been raised in conflict, and now I'm also living in a country which has seemed like a prison for both men and women. Even women are deprived of very primary rights in Afghanistan. Like they are deprived of going to school, going to universities, or going to job. And there is no any specific logic behind this. And it is quite difficult for someone to survive in a situation where everything is lost, where everything is collapsing, and you have nothing to do. But what you can do is to stay strong, and you should stand for the goals that you have. So some key points and elements that really helped me to overcome the challenges were like struggling because of the friends that I have lost in explosions that happened in my university, and their dreams and goals remained uncompleted. I just kept going because of my family, because of my friends, because of my people, and also all other girls that are living in Afghanistan. During the university, and even now, I was a youth activist. I was trying to provide education facilities for people, especially for women, because they're always deprived of the primary rights in Afghanistan. So I just kept going because of them. And the most important point was the sense of helping other people. Helping other people really make me happy and makes me feel feel comfortable. So that's why I just keep going. I worked for many projects, and even after the takeover of my country and collapsing of the previous government in Afghanistan, I decided to start researching, publishing papers, and just raise our voices to the world. So yeah, if I should sum up, the 2 points were really important and really assisted me to overcome the challenges. One, my dreams and goals that I never want to give up. And the second, helping others.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nilab, for joining us and for being open to share those challenges and those obstacles with us. Really, really appreciate it. I wanted it because I've heard that I think Taya mentioned that she had just moved to another region of Ukraine because her part of the country is currently it's in danger, and it's so interesting for me to hear a 17-year-old person saying that I've left my home, I've left my village or my city because it's in danger, and I moved to another part, and now I'm working with the kids to help them forget about what's happening a little bit. What pushes you to do that, actually, Taya? What's the drive?
Okay, first of all, I just needed friends in the first point. When I needed to wake up in the morning and go somewhere, just not to go crazy with all these actions and some things in my life, because yes, it's not my home. I don't have some people that I love. For example, my father is not with me here. So I just needed a place where I would be safe and with some people, young people, like teenagers. And I didn't know that I will fall in love with theater. I just needed a place. And when I came to theater, I met Sonia, Sasha, and they become my friends. And I understood that theater is a great thing. You can leave some emotions there. For example, when I can't cry at home, or I can laugh enough at home, I have some emotions that I need to leave. I can come to the theater and do some exercises, something like this. So it helps really.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Taya, for sharing that. Just a reminder to everyone who is in the call, please use the chat to ask any questions. We're just kicking off the conversation, and we will get back to reading some of the questions in a little bit. And I believe also Phoebe is doing a wonderful work by sharing links of how you all can read more about what each and every one discussion leader is doing. So make sure you follow the chat. I know it's a lot going on the chat and hearing people talking, but you can manage that. I wanted just to stop a little bit into the story of young people in the war, because I've mentioned it at the beginning that I've also gone through the war myself, and I think that there is one thing about the war is that, at least this is my perception, is that the war itself is kind of the tip of the iceberg, but it's the tip of the iceberg that everybody sees and everybody hears about it. But the people that are outside of that experience, outside of that reality, it's almost impossible for them to actually understand what happens within the communities when the war is happening, but also after the war is happening. This is something that I've seen with my own eyes. We've had a war for about 1.5 years, and then for about 15 years, it's a post-war society that goes through a lot. There is a lot that the world just forgets about it. It's not on the media anymore. It's not on the press. People don't know about it. People believe it's over, but it actually continues. That horror of the war, those consequences of the war are very much present, especially in the presence of in the life of the young people. So I just wanted to ask. I will start with Sasha again. What do you wish that the people outside of Ukraine actually understood about the young people in your country? If there is one thing that you would like for them to understand, what is that and why?
Thank you for this question, Leon. Well, I think the issue with the war in Ukraine is that there are really a lot of fakes going around about the war in our country. It's been called a conflict, like it is unclear who is the aggressor and who is the victim of this aggression. But I do want people to understand this as clearly as I can say, that Russia is the aggressor in our war. And Ukraine is the country that has been invaded first 9 years ago in 2014. And now again with a full-scale invasion. And the only way to end this war is to support Ukraine and to support Ukraine's win in this war. And well, I'm sorry, my voice is shaking a little bit. I'm a bit nervous, but it's okay.
Don't worry, take your time.
Yeah. So yes, if you want to ask the children, the adults, all the Ukrainians to see this, then the way to do it is to donate to Ukraine, donate to our army, to the people here, and help us win this war. Yes.
Thank you, Sasha. And as I said at the beginning, we appreciate you being here and you sharing with us the reality of what's going on, and then how you are experiencing it as a young person. How about you, Nilab? Is there something that you want people outside of Afghanistan to understand about young people in Afghanistan?
Thank you, Leon. Yes, of course. I'm sure that the world is aware of the situation in Afghanistan, that it is very challenging and it's very difficult. But what I would like to highlight is that we have been raised in war. We are experiencing war problems and challenges in different ways. From economy, starting from economy to security and whatever and etc. that we are facing with that. But what Afghanistan is now facing is with the government that is not thinking of the people in the good manner. I mean, after the collapsing of the previous government of Afghanistan, everything ruined in Afghanistan. Many people lost their jobs, many people lost their dreams. A lot of Afghan people escaped from Afghanistan and they have immigrated to outside Afghanistan. I remember the last semester of my university that the government of Afghanistan collapsed. And on that time, it was our last semester, and we were thinking of having graduation ceremony for ourselves. We were talking about how we can celebrate our graduation and how we can celebrate from our victory, from our hard work and etc. And suddenly the discussions changed to immigration, to escaping from Afghanistan, and collapsing whatever that we had on our hands. After that, including me and all youths living in Afghanistan, they were completely shocked and they were very depressed. For a while, I myself was very depressed. I was afraid of losing my bachelor degree, for example, because I was hearing about the Taliban, about their history from my family, about their cruelty, about their stories from my family, how they just deprive people from their primary rights. And then I was afraid that it will happen to me as well. But again, we just decided to not stop and to stand for our goals, for our dreams. And including me, there are lots of youths living in Afghanistan and outside Afghanistan. They're struggling and they're working for the people. They are trying to survive despite all the challenges that we have here. But what I would like to know, let the world know, is that we will not stop struggling for our goals. We will not stop our struggles for the future of Afghanistan. And still we are surviving, still we are seeking for the opportunities, and we ask the world to also stay with us and stand with us in this uncertain times that we have in Afghanistan.
Thank you, Nilab. Keep up the hope, everyone, because it gets better at one point. It's hard, the road is bumpy, but yeah, the society starts to kind of pull itself together. So yeah, I think we've lost Ahmed due to internet, but Sofia and Taya, do you guys want to add something around what do you wish people outside of Ukraine actually understood about the young people in Ukraine?
Actually, yes, I have something to add. First of all, I wanted to tell the world that listening to Russian music, watching Russian films, videos, playing Russian games is helping them to invade to our country, help them raise money to their army. And this is helping them to continue the war. And unfortunately, not only the whole world don't understand this. Also, some of Ukrainians don't understand this thing. And unfortunately, they keep going to listen to their music and other resources. And also, I wanted to say that war isn't started at 2022. It begins in 2014. And this whole 9 years, our country lived in the war. And yes, first 8 years, not whole Ukraine felt the war, but it have the place in our lives for 9 years.
Thank you, Sofia. Thank you for sharing this. And yeah, all the context matters, as you're saying. The war has received a lot more attention from last year, but it's been going on for more than that, and people have been suffering for more than that. Right? So thank you for pointing that out. I know there are a lot of questions in the chat already, and a lot of comments for our discussion leaders. So whenever you have some time, make sure you read them. I know that we have a guest from the Peace Initiative Bhutan. We have Susmik here. I believe she wanted to ask a question to our discussion leaders. So I would kindly invite you, Susmik, to unmute yourself and ask the question to our discussion leader. You can direct the question to either one person, two people, or all of them.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Leon. And I really want to thank Phoebe and Theo for organizing this. As I was listening, I was like a bit emotional, but also super angry. So I'm with Peace Initiative Bhutan. It's a nonprofit organization. So we've been dedicated our time in solving Bhutanese refugee crisis through peace and reconciliation. And 90% or more than 90% of our active PIB members are young leaders. And so I really want to learn, what are the challenges and barriers that you're currently facing, maybe a major ones, for youth, like to increase the youth engagement or like a development of young leaders in your region. And also I wanted to learn, I know Phoebe has been posting how we can support your work at an individual level, but we also have been doing a lot of work with refugees, Bhutanese refugees particularly. So how can we help overcome those challenges at an organizational level? And also being a community organizer professionally, would love to also learn about like how at a government level, maybe I'm talking about more of US government level, we can support your work. But I'm really moved by all your incredible stories, and thank you so much for having a courage here to share a story and amplify your voices for your people. And my question's directed to any young leaders who would want to share.
Thank you, Susmik. Let's see which one of them would want to go first. So just to recap, one of the questions is around the challenges and the barriers you're facing when working with young leaders, with young people. And then the second is how can people support on an individual and institutional level as well. It's not the time to be shy. Yes, Sasha. Thank you.
As I have seen, there is a link to donate to our theater in the chat, and I think this is, well, for our theater, for this community, this is the most direct way to help.
Thank you, Sasha. Anyone else? Yes, Sofia.
And maybe if you have some friends in Ukraine, especially in Chernivtsi, so maybe you can tell them that we have a lot of premieres and a lot of actions in this time. So maybe they want and have opportunity to visit and share their emotions with you. And we have recorded some of our acts, so you can watch it. Unfortunately, it's only on Ukrainian, so I don't think you can understand what are we saying, but maybe if you want, you can watch this.
Yeah, and also in this action we have a really powerful performance about how kids feel during the war, what they feel about kids that have to move on. It's really a cool performance. I really love it, and we will show it again, so we can send you a link and you can see this. It's really powerful, and when I speak with my mother, she saw it. She said, "Oh, I was crying. I was really crying so a lot." So yeah.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Taya. If you have the links nearby, please drop them in the chat so people can look, or even your emails. I think Sophia was mentioning that you have friends in Ukraine, but now we know you guys from Ukraine, so you could be our friends who could be the bridge for us to support the people in Ukraine. So just drop your emails on the chat, and people will follow up with you. I wanted to hear from I think if we have I believe we have Nilab in the call still, because her work is related a little bit with the UN woman, with young women, and just to hear a little bit on the barriers on actually working on improving the life of the young leaders and young women in Afghanistan. What are some of the barriers, Nilab? Would you mind sharing some insights for us?
Yes, of course. Thank you for your question. There were lots of barriers and challenges during the works or social activities that we had. In a project of UN Women that we were implementing for Afghan women to provide them education facilities. So the project was funded by UN Women. We just delivered our proposal, and hopefully we received their funding, their attention, and their assistance. But in fact, inside our community, there was some challenges, like our main attention was women and young girls from backwarded province of Afghanistan who have been deprived of education, whether by their families or by their community or their relatives, because in the past we had also some issues regarding the education of the women, because they were not allowed even by their families. They didn't have that primary thinking of education in their mind, so they could allow their young girls and women to go to school or universities or get education. So there was some problems regarding the mindsets of the families, and also about the society. About another challenge was security. Even in the previous government, it was really risky that you travel to backwarded province of Afghanistan and provide them with education facilities. Also, still our people have problems with the very primary facilities, like having a stable internet connection to join us, and also to get what we have delivered for them. Those were some barriers and challenges that we have always been faced with them during the implementation of our projects, our programs.
Thank you, Nilab. Thank you for sharing some insights on the work you are doing. We have a wonderful comment on the chat. As you saw it at the beginning, we have people joining us from, like, literally from all over the world. We have a comment coming from Brazil, Oleksandra, that I would like to ask Oleksandra, is it all possible to unmute yourself and, yeah, just say the comment to our discussion leaders and ask the question. It's a really beautiful comment. If we set that up, Oleksandra. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Sorry, my connection's not so good, so I have the video turned off. But it was wonderful listening to each of you. And we work with stories, and stories work. Telling your story like you have today is so important. But I was wondering whether you were writing your stories as well. That writing them is a way to connect. It's a means for self-care. And it is also an act of resilience. Words are power. They've always been. And what we've seen is that in the mobilization of leaders and communities, anybody who tells their story, even if it's recorded and then transcribed, once it's on paper, it's a moment to, it's an impulse to a new start. It really does bring a lot of energy. So I was curious about that. And if there was any way that we could connect and share your stories in Brazil, we would love to. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Oleksandra. Thank you. We all love stories, and in one way or another, we all connect with stories. So discussion leaders reach out to Oleksandra privately on the chat, if you want to share your story with the Brazilian youth, so they also get inspired with what you're doing, or anyone who is on the call for that matter.
Well, I'll add that writing is not easy, so we can always help with that as well, right? So if anybody feels overwhelmed by putting their story on paper, that's something that we also have developed methodologies to simplify, and the youth that we're connecting with are just writing extraordinary pieces. So be very interesting.
Thank you so much, Oleksandra. I might reach out to you. I love writing. I'm not a very, very good writer, but I like writing stories.
Please
So
do,
I might also
Leon.
be reaching out.
Okay.
Thank you for the generous help and offer. Really, really appreciate it. We have a comment. It's a question actually. It's from Tabby Heller from Jordan. Hi, Tabby.
Hi, yes, I just unmuted. I've been writing quite a bit. I apologize. So I wasn't sure which comment you might be referencing.
I have here listed one around a particular experience that was life-changing for young leaders.
Yes.
So your
yes,
question
exactly.
around that.
I mean, the reason why I asked that is it's a little bit linked to the comment I just wrote about resilience research. It's been incredibly interesting to me because we've been doing research on storytelling, resilience, trauma, and so on. And what I found quite powerful is one of the reasons why storytelling can be such an important tool for kind of a sense of self-efficacy and agency is that it allows you to really identify what is my deeper purpose and how is my deeper purpose connected to my sense of who I am, my identity. And when you start from an anchor of identity and move through actions that reinforce your identity, your feelings are a reinforcement of that identity. What typically happens is the reverse. We are so traumatized and we start with our feelings, and to some extent our sense of identity drowns in all of the conflict that we're trying to manage and make sense of. So I thought it was, as a psychologist as well, I thought I would just wanted to share that if we can look at our stories and our experiences through the lens of how has this built my identity or reinforced my sense of why I'm here, right? I loved, we have somebody that we've worked with and they ask themselves two questions when they wake up in the morning. Why do I wake up in the morning, and why should anyone care, right? And so, you know, it's kind of grounding in terms of the essence of why we are here. And I think everyone who has spoken has been so powerful in my sense, from my vantage point, in terms of, I have such a sense of the identity coming out, and that is a source of strength and a source of resilience. So I just wanted to applaud everyone who has weighed in. But using your stories as a vehicle to reinforce your identity. I love that quotation. I'm trying to recall, if everyone has a deeper why, you can figure out the what and the how quite straightforwardly, right? But it's that deeper why. Why am I here? Why do I want to do what I do? And I just wanted to confirm and affirm what I've heard so far, which is that wonderfully deep sense of why. And if we can remind ourselves in the midst of all this trauma and chaos and conflict, that we have a role to play and we have a deeper why, and kind of reminding ourselves of that as much as we can on a daily basis, I think that's incredibly powerful.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tabby. Thank you so much. There's so much wisdom in this room. I'm very inspired to hear from every single one of you on how can we help and how can we reflect more and how can we start realizing a little bit better why are we doing the things that we're doing, and why do these things matter. So really appreciate, and I want to continue encourage all of you to continue asking questions on the chat. We'll call you one by one as the time allows us to interact with our discussion leaders. I think I have, I'm sorry for the pronunciation, Todie, I think a question for our discussion leaders.
It's actually Sudi. Thank you so
Judy,
much.
sorry.
No worries. Thank you so much for all of you, to all of you for sharing your stories. It's so powerful, and it's such a great reminder of so many of the things that many of us not living in an active conflict zone take for granted every single day. And, you know, there's a lot of talk about resilience, but the reality is you have no choice when you're in the middle of conflict but to be resilient. And so I would love if you could share what you would want people, youth, but also government leaders who care around the world to know and to focus on and to pay attention to as a reminder of what's going on in places like where you're living right now, and as a reminder of what's important and the support that you need. Because I think people need to hear it from you all directly, and to kind of recognize the power that you have when you're not in crisis to be able to support people around the world.
Thank you so much. I'll leave it open to discussion leaders to see which one of them would like to volunteer. That was a wonderful, wonderful question. What do you want people to know? What is important for you right now in what you're going through in your life?
Yeah, Leon, I would like to respond.
Yes, please.
At some points. Despite all the challenges that we have in Afghanistan, like poverty, like education, like security, the most important challenge that I would like to highlight, and I would like to raise my voice on behalf of other women living in Afghanistan, is that to pay attention especially and particularly about the women. Now in Afghanistan, the women are completely erased, and they lost any facilities, opportunities in Afghanistan just because they are women. There is no gender equality in Afghanistan. For example, as a woman or as a girl, I'm deprived of going to my job. I'm working remotely from my home, and I'm not allowed to go to my office in person. Even in the government, in the public sectors, we are totally not allowed to go there just because we are women. And even our government, the Taliban, which says that they are our government, they don't have any specific reason or logic for this, that why we should be deprived of that right. So what is really painful for me is that the world should pay attention to this. They should advocate for us, because we really need them. Even myself, for my master interview, I have hopefully got admission from one of the universities in the United States for my master degree. So I was invited to take my interview, and one of them US embassy in some of the countries. For example, I decided to travel to Pakistan, because nowadays the only countries that we can travel is Pakistan and Iran. The other countries just closed their doors to us. So at the airport, I was stopped and I was prevented from flying because I didn't have a male companion with myself. It was really painful for me that I missed my interview on that time. It was really painful. So one thing that I really ask the world to pay attention is that to do not allow the Taliban to stay in Afghanistan and take the leave of all women in Afghanistan. It is very painful. That's what I wanted to highlight.
Thank you so much, Nilab. I'm so sorry to hear what you had to go through. Yes, Sophia? You're on mute.
Yes, I understand it. I wanted to tell that the biggest pain that I want to highlight and tell you and make people understand that people dying they're really dying. It's hard to understand at first, because when people see some pictures in the internet of Ukrainian cities that are ruined because of Russia, it's like some pictures from a film, but it's real. And I understood it only when my friend died. So I get news that my friend died because of war, because of rockets. And only in that point, I understand that people are not numbers, and it's really terrible, and it's like a nightmare. So I want people to understand that it's real. It's not a film. It's not some blockbusters with James Bond. It's like people dying, my friends dying, my family dying. Yeah.
And also I wanted to add that it's not only army dying, it's all of us can die. The other day, it's really terrifying to understand that this day can be lost in your life, that you can go to sleep and not wake up in the morning because of Russian rockets bomb your house. And that many children in our country died because of Russia, and a lot of children was stolen from their homes, from their cities to Russia, and a lot of children was missing and is missing right now. My friend is missing for 1 year. Her family was Russian troop murdered her family, and she's since March 2022 is missing, and everything that we have is only memories of her, photos, and her little sister, and a lot of people was looking for her, and they don't give hope that she's still alive, but it's almost impossible to find her right now, and it's really painful to understand. And it's really painful to understand that a lot of people missing right now, just like her, and a lot of them is in Russia or Belarus right now just because of Russians. And that so many people just died in this war, and this is really heartbreaking for us.
Yeah. It's also hard to understand that you can see this person or place you loved. Like I lost a lot of places and people I loved. I can't go home because my home doesn't exist anymore. Partly it doesn't exist. So, and people I loved doesn't exist anymore. So it's the biggest pain, in my opinion.
And if you look at photos from Mariupol or Kharkiv or Dnipro or any other country or any other city in our country, you can only see, maybe you can't feel the pain, but you can see how painful it is for Ukrainians, because a lot of them lost their homes, a lot of their lost their family and friends and teachers or anyone they loved, and it's really hard to understand.
This is so heartbreaking, and we're very, very sorry to hear what the pain that you have to go through every day, and losing people that you're close to you, by losing your home, by losing the places that you grow up to, or in the other case is losing your freedom to move, or losing your freedom to study or to work, or to be able to function normally and have a normal life, or to travel. I think it's very, very heartbreaking.
Thank
and
you.
it's yeah, I'm happy you're here and sharing this with us. We need to hear this stories. We need to know that these are not some stories that we read in the book or we see in the movies. These are lives of people that are actually happening every single day. And
Also,
yeah,
I'm sorry. I wanted to add that world shouldn't forget about a lot of crimes that Russian troops did to us, to our country. They raped little children in Bucha and in Mariupol and other cities. There was like 10 people, 12 people, 4 people for one little girl, and they murdered animals and they eat them. And I think you know Askania Nova in Kherson. It's now occupied by Russian troops, and they're killed a lot of animals in there. So I just wanted to tell you that world should remember all of the crimes of Russia and don't forgive them. Thank you.
as Alexandra already mentioned on the chat, for you, Sofia, Aya, Sasha, but every discussion leader, please make sure you continue writing and sharing these stories with the rest of the world, because they're a testament of who you are and what you're going through. And we simply need to hear it more. We simply need to know it more, and to understand that we have a lot of things that we take for granted in our daily life, while our peers and our neighbors are not sure whether they will be able to wake up the next morning. So please write, please talk to people. You're visible, you're seen, we're hearing you, but we want more people to see you. We want more people to hear you, and to hear your story. I wanted to hear from Sasha, if there is anything you would like to share us in terms of, is there anything you miss from, let's say, the normal life that was before the war?
It's hard to say what it means before the war. The war did start 9 years ago, and I myself am from Crimea, which is a region of the very region of Ukraine that has been occupied since 2014. So I am a refugee too, but I have been one since 2014. For me, this war has been going on for 9 years. And well, I'm 16 years old, and it's not so easy to remember, well, what it was like before. It has been going on for longer than half of my life. But yes, of course, I miss the freedom of, well, everything, of being able to go to another city, to go outside and not be scared that there will be an air alert and a possible missile strike, which is a daily possibility. Like all of us could hear sirens from my window any moment, which would warn us about an air alert. There is no freedom like this in Ukraine anymore. And yes, of course, I miss thinking about the future like freely, because right now I don't think any Ukrainian can think like longer than past tomorrow. There is no long-term future. So it is hard.
It is hard, yeah. And it's even harder when a group of young people whose job is to dream and hope and play, and they can't do that. They're not allowed to even do that. How about you, Nilab? I'm curious to hear story from Afghanistan. Is there anything in particular that you miss from the life in Afghanistan that you used to have?
To be honest, there are a lot to share. If we write and write and write, or even we say it will not be ended about the problems and challenges that we have. But it really hurts when you see that you're not treated as a human here in Afghanistan. And you don't have the right even to go outside home. And even one day, the right of breathing will also be taken from us. Even it really hurts when you see that you're not allowed to go to the park, sit here and have a fresh air. You cannot even compare yourself with a man here in Afghanistan. And it really hurts when you see that men are working outside, working in the offices, and the opportunities are just taken from you just because you're a female or you're a woman. And I can say more of that, because when you're not treated equally as a human, so trust me, you will lose everything. Even you will lose your mindset regarding the humanity. And it really hurts, believe me, especially when you see that there are lots of opportunities around and you cannot catch them. You feel like you're in a prison surrounded by very high walls, and you're inside of that. It is surrounded with lots of restrictions, and you're just trying to go outside of that. So I really hope for the best, and I really hope for one day that I can reach to my dreams and I go out of that prison.
Thank you, Nilab. Thank you so much. I want to continue with you, Nilab, for one more thing, very briefly, because in the West, particularly, there is an overflood of information that we get about the conflicts that are happening around the world, which is not necessarily always the right information. In a lot of cases, it's also misinformation. We're not really aware what is happening exactly. There might be different agendas or whatever. Like, we see information that might not necessarily be true, or might not necessarily be the thing that we need to hear of the life and the challenges that are happening. And I wanted to hear from you on your experience that you had working with different women and with different groups. I wanted to hear from you a little bit around this misinformation piece. What do you think about it? What is your perception of it? And how do you think we can address it as human beings, so we actually get to hear what's actually happening?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. There might be some issues, like they're not true, or they're not addressing very well or suitably. But what, as a woman right now, I'm doing, for example, in the last couple of months, I was working with the Monash University of Australia, which has created a group, and we were working on publishing research papers. So on that papers, we were trying to address the issues and problems we have in Afghanistan, particularly regarding the woman, because it's a very huge problem in Afghanistan right now. Even it is very difficult for the families that they don't have a male companion. And in the previous government of Afghanistan, for example, in the Republic government of Afghanistan, they were only the main person that fit their families. So what they should do in case they don't have a male companion in their families. So right now, what we can do is that we can share such problems and address those issues in such platforms that we can make sure that all over the world is there and they can hear us. For example, right now that I'm talking about the problems that I'm facing, I'm experiencing, like I was prevented in the airport from flying just because I didn't have a male companion. Even though if I said in the airport that I'm going to do my interview for my master's degree, And that time, even it would be a very big risk for me. Even they could block me from entering to the airport because they are really against the education of the women. They are trying to do anything to prevent women from educating. So right now that we feel like that they wanted to close our mouths, and even people are afraid of their lives. So if they share something, they might hear, they might listen, and they might find that that person is talking about us, about the problems and challenges. The only thing that we can do is to like write our stories, share our stories in such platforms that world is there and they can hear us. I think that this is the only thing that I can do as a woman or girls can do here living in Afghanistan and experiencing problems.
Thank you, Nilab. Thank you for sharing that insight with us. Oh, we're going towards the end of the circle, but just wanted to encourage you to ask the last questions that you might have. I think we had a friend from the Philippines earlier in the call. I'm not sure if they're still around, Cecilia Alvarez, because we might have gotten late there. Cecilia Alvarez from the Philippines. You've been working on using art as a means to find resilience. Can you share a little bit more with us on that? I'm not sure they're still on the call.
I think we lost Cecilia. We also have really desperate, sad stories of victims of conflict, because we do have this problem, especially in the South. There are some peace initiatives, but what we hear from Afghanistan, from Ukraine, or even in Africa, in Sudan and the others, truly the pain is more felt by women and children. And as artists, what we can just do is to dynamically apply the arts for therapy, to heal trauma, to help build resistance and confidence, to give hope out of this desperate, dark situation. And we do it through songs, we do it through stories that can be aired to reach people. And so the idea, we built also a movement to link artists, because they can have the platform to conscientize, to reach the hearts and minds. It seems we have short memories. After a while, we just, we can act, we can react, and then easily forget because of our own challenges of daily living. So the artist can be the memory bank to keep on recharging conscience. I think what is needed is for everybody to feel the pain and do something. And so we had organized what we call the Peace and Climate Justice Movement linked to the SDGs, not by force of arms, but by the power of arts. So that if the UN has the Blue Helmet Army, the world can build a creative rainbow army of artists and educators, teachers and communicators, and science to be understood by the ordinary people. Some still believe in superstition, some still are drawn into the fake stories or the trolls, and it's sad. It really, truth must be the one aired, heard, and sustain the memory. I'd like to just point out, for instance, just through a song done by a blind child, we've seen audiences cry and get affected. We have to motivate the action to stop violence against mankind and Mother Earth. And I just, with this little song which says, I'm a child of war. I lost my home, my innocence and happiness I've known. When will concern begin? When will the killings end? We're too young to learn to hate. From the wars that our fathers make. So I think the wars have been started really by men, and the impact on women and girls is just horrendous. So if we can join what we did in Manila, is going to be reprised in Pakistan this year. We're talking with people in Brazil. If the SDGs is not just a convention in paper, but it can be translated into really connecting to the conditions, the impetus to change, to transform, and the capacity and the power to do so. That's what we need to build, which the Global Circle is doing with everything that you're working. But we all have to build this connectivity, and we were suffering with so much isolation. So how to sustain this? There's social media. We've got to overpower the fake news. There's broadcast. That's why I was asking Nadine if what you're or what you're recording now, we can share in our own broadcast, so it's heard, it's felt, and maybe they can also begin to think about its relevance to their own condition and act. We need the will. It's really, we can't just feel, we must be motivated to act. And we believe that the arts can do this if it is a solid, strong connectivity. It's conscience. We have to awaken conscience. We have to build empathy, but the empathy must really move to action. So that's all. It's painful to hear this. We do that, and it's sad. And thank you for continuing, and not to be defeated, but to feel we can all overcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cecilia. Thank you for all the wonderful, all wonderful work that you've been doing, and it's really, really inspiring to see. And I'm really curious to get connected with you and to see how we can explore this possibility of actually building resilience through art. To everyone who joined us today, thank you so much to the discussion leaders, to Sofia, Taya, Nastasha, to Nabila, and Ahmed, whom we lost quite early. Thank you so much for your time, for your bravery, and for sharing with us who you are and what you're going through. The world, I think, more than ever, really needs to hear from the young people what is happening and how they're dealing with it. The world is in pain, and us, the young people, are left to deal with the issues of the past, but we're also in charge to build a future. So we don't continue the cycle of wars and conflicts and violence. But for that, we need the wisdom of the older generation to help us build those visions. And we need the courage to dream, which I really see it here today. And I was very happy to witness it. All the way from Afghanistan, Syria, Ukraine. It's just wonderful to see how much more connected we can get into sharing the stories. This is a global family, and we're connected to each other now. Please stay connected. Stay in touch with the people that you've met in this circle. Ask for help when you need the help. If there are people in this room who cannot help you, they might know someone who can help you. So stay connected and reach out. And just, I think last but not least on my end, which was mentioned a few times on this conversation, was write about your stories, record your stories, share your stories. They are a huge part of who you are, huge part of your identity. And every single one of us just simply needs to hear more and more of that. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you. And I'll give the floor to Theo.
Thank you. Thank you, Leon. Thank you for facilitating this conversation that was, as somebody in the chat said, both heartbreaking and heartwarming. And it truly was, and I have no words really to express how grateful I am to all of you for being here and sharing your stories and lifting your voices to a global community that we have. And we want to continue to do that. And I love that there's opportunities being put in the chat for you to write your stories. We would be happy, we would be honored to share those written stories as well as the video of this to our global network of global citizen circles. So thank you to everybody for being here today. Thank you for all of you who put amazing comments and questions and resources in the chat. And we look forward to seeing you all again probably in the fall, but please reach out to us before then if there's anything that we can help with. And I want to just invite folks, as we always do, to stay on if you'd like to talk further. You don't need to. Obviously, we've gone an hour and a half, and thank you all for staying with us for that length of time. And but as we usually do, we will stay on as long as there are people who would like to continue the chat. But for now, I will close the formal part of the program and invite those of you who want to stay and chat with us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for invitation.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. It's really important for us to tell people our stories, and I think we will write it down. So yes, thank you very much.
So happy to have you with us.
We too. And thank you everyone for listening. It's very, very necessary.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. We really enjoyed sharing our stories.
Thank you, Nilab, for joining us from Afghanistan, and just encourage you to continue to follow your dreams. You're incredible. All that you've accomplished so far in your young life, you're incredible. And so we will stay with you. We will not forget you.
Thank you too. Thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate all of your kindness.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Leon. We'll talk with you soon.
Yep.
Yeah, they were all good. The interviewer was excellent,
Leon,
but he can't draw a crowd.
If anybody has any comments, Judith, I see you've come off of mute.
I'm just, I'm so deeply grateful and so deeply moved by what we've received from all of you today, from all of the young people who are here. As Global Citizen Circle knows, I was involved for many years with an organization called Children of War. And this was back in the 80s through the 90s. And it's amazing to me, for example, that in our program in 1986, we had young people from Afghanistan then. And so you get that sense of how unfortunately long-standing many of these conflicts are. And I was particularly moved, Taya, by your continued sharing of what it has meant to you to have the support of your peers in moving from where your devastated city somewhere else, and you found a group of young people who are supporting you, and the difference that that makes in anybody's life to have that, to have your peers to be able to support you, to listen to you, to help you through. It makes all the difference in the world to not only know you're supported, but to actually literally have that support from other people your own age and otherwise to lean on and to help you get through this. And Tabby, I was listening to you and thinking, you know, what you were discussing as in terms of the research and the piece around identity, it made me think of Judith Herman's work early on in trauma, where she was discussing survivor mission, meaning those who have been through these situations, helping others to get through those situations, develops their identity and their sense of why when they get up in the morning. I think of Arnchorn Pond, who is close to all of us here at Global Citizen Circle, a survivor of the Cambodian genocide, and this is back in the 70s. And what he has gone on to do with his life out of the ashes, if you will, kind of the phoenix rising from the ashes of his life. And he did that partly because he had a great deal of support from other people to harvest the resilience that he had found and offer it to other young people. So this idea of the network of building young person to young person, helping each other, I think is so inspirational and so important in this work. And I want to thank Global Citizen Circle for putting this together. It's beautiful. Thank you.